What up, though? It's your boy Willie Smalls in the building. Welcome to tonight's show. Everybody want to say what up?
Hey
What's
guys.
going on? What's going on, good people? I don't know why I just did that. I don't know if I thought I was at like a
He was
rap
like,
party.
yeah,
concert
it's
or
shit is
something.
happening.
What
Oh
up,
my
though?
goodness.
Yeah, it's so
He excited.
about
I mean,
to go
that's
down.
so long as you right, it's about to go down. So so long as you're excited, shoot, we here, we in the building, shoot.
We in the building. We in
Yeah,
the
it's
building.
actually it's been what a couple weeks since we've been in the Monday show. We all been doing our other shows, but tonight we done brought it back together for the Monday show. I think we took a week off. We had a little logistics issue last week, so we back in here. We're gonna finish up this parenting topic that we've been talking about parenting for over a month now. And actually, I think we can actually count even in April as well, because Smooth and Hype did a show as well on the How to Hustle podcast with Hype, talking about the impact that their daughters had on them. So yeah, we've been talking about parenting for several weeks, and so make sure you guys go check out our replays over at gftradioshow.com. Make sure you check them out on the audio replays at your favorite podcast platforms, or the video replays over on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So make sure y'all go check that out. But yeah, we are here. We're going to be wrapping up this important series on parenting. And tonight we're going to be talking about how are we keeping our children safe, part 2. So last time we got together, we talked about keeping our children safe, basically safety and security in the home, in school, in the community. We talked a lot about being personally safe, trying to protect our kids from molestation, from people who just don't have their best interests at heart, that kind of thing. I think we kind of touched on previous episodes. We talked about, is our village the right village for our family, that kind of thing. So we talked about that. So we're going to keep going with that theme tonight and going to expand on that. So we're going to get to it. And in the meantime, just want to remind everybody that, make sure you go over to our gftradio.creator-spring.com site to get some merchandise. We have shirts, hoodies like Smooth has on. We got drinking glasses, fanny packs, all kinds of merchandise, even pillows. I got a pillow on my couch now. It makes a nice little napping pillow. So make sure you guys go over there and check that out and support us while we support you with all this great content. So again, we're going to talk about keeping our children safe. One of the things I wanted to kind of double back on was school. Talking about, keeping our children safe. Last time I think we just talked about, peer pressure. Talked about not peer pressure. I take that back. We talked about just them, basically, our kids in school. They have issues, things like that. But I want to jump on the whole situation with kids in school and the peer pressure, the society in general, and the things that they have to deal with, right? Between bullying and being bullied and having issues with drugs and alcohol in school, all kinds of things like that. What are we doing to keep our kids safe, keep them conscious of things that they need to be aware of? What are we doing to do that? I know, Smooth, your daughter is in what, 4th grade, 5th grade?
Fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah. Going to the 4th. She's going, excuse me, she in the 3rd right
I
now.
thought she was the same grade as A.
Yeah, she in the 3rd. She headed to the 4th. But
okay. I'm trying to grow her up.
I know, right? But one thing I tried to do. One thing I tried to do is what we talked about on the previous show. Part 1 was create a safe space, open line of communication. Let her know I want to know what's going on, and giving her freedom to express, what they're dealing with now. But the biggest thing for me is I don't want her taking on a lot of her friends' issues at this age. You know, I think back when I was her age, you know, in elementary, I feel like we was probably more what would I put it? I want to say more smarter, but like more mature. I say.
Okay,
we, like,
more mature. Yeah,
more mature. So, but we still had these same issues. But we used to look at things back. I know if I'm just talking about my specific crew, when I was in elementary. We would take on each other issues. You feel me? And be you know, kind of living vicariously through each other. And I don't want her to do that. You feel me? If your friend's going through something, don't immerse yourself into it. I guess that's what I mean. Don't immerse yourself into that situation.
Now, are you talking about situations similar to, because I think Hank brought this up last time, is about how sometimes like he would be like, oh, you know, his buddy come over and his buddies, you know, got, you know, things going on at home, like no food or a parent's not home, things like that. And he's like, oh, you know, I got to take care of my buddy, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You can't save everybody. My daughter got a beautiful heart, so she be wanting to help everybody. She want to try to be there for everybody. And I tell her, try to explain to her, like, you're a kid too.
Right.
You feel me? You got your own things you got to deal with at home. You feel me? Focus on home first, and, you know, help when possible.
Right.
You feel me? Help within your means. You feel me? Don't immerse yourself and take on all their problems as if it's yours, and then because that's how it'll start affecting you emotionally, mentally, and you'll start acting out in accordance with something that doesn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah, true that.
You feel me? So it's like that's
the empathy runs crazy with some of these kids. It's
putting that burden on themselves and emotionally dealing with it, but they're not really emotionally equipped to handle it.
True.
Exactly.
Exactly. Good points. Yeah, definitely good points.
Yeah. I think for me, I like just looking at like talking to my daughter and understanding that she went through kind of similar to my childhood. Little different because, you know, I started punching people. So that was my solution. Her solution thankfully wasn't the same as mine. So kind of that was the plus side, because I think everybody was equating her to me because they knew how I was in school and thought she was going to be the same way. And thankfully she wasn't. But I think that also, like, I didn't want her to be me, but I would have liked her to stand up for herself more.
Okay.
Like, she took it and internalized it, right? So I felt like if she had alerted me to it while she was going through it, maybe I could have been a better of assistance and not let her go through it alone. And that's the thing of and that was back then when we could talk, but she just felt like it was just her own struggle, you know? And it's like, no. Had you talked, I could have shared my stories too and how I dealt with it. Not necessarily wanted you to deal with it how I dealt with it, but kind of, I think as she got older, she learned to stand up for herself and not think. But at the same time, you know, when people say things to you, even if you know it's not true, it still bothers you to some extent. So being mindful, I think I would have loved to have been able to provide some type of guidelines to keep her safe and understand that people are going to say mean things, but as long as you know what to do and you know how to, like, people, like what's the saying that people say things or bully you because they see something in you that they don't have in themselves, type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So and like when you see somebody that's content with themselves and you just got to tear them down, like she went through that. So if I could have helped her, if she had talked to me then and let me know what's going on, I could have kind of told her, like, I went through that too. I did go through the same thing of internalizing it too, but at the same time, I just handled it a lot differently. Not great, but a lot differently than, you know, people would handle it. But I think it would have been better to kind of navigate that through that. But the plus side was she picked some really good friends.
Oh, good.
So that was the plus side to that, because she had friends. They were like considered outcast, or the people that are not as popular, but they all like had each other's back. So like that was the plus side of her not falling into the negative crowd. And it's oddly enough, she's very protective of other people. Like if you can't talk about anybody, because she'll call you out on it, and like that's bullying.
Yeah.
But luckily she was able to get into that crowd of, they were able to help each other through school. So she didn't fall into like the bad crowd, because I did. That's my actions put me in a not great crowd, but for her it was like she went through it differently and got good friends out of it. And then some of them are still her friends today, and they're like doing positive things, and they're more productive human beings and adults now, because like I said, she's about to be 20 this year. So like they she had a good crowd, and plus I had her in activities where she met people. She was in cheerleading for a good while. She did softball, so she had things. She had other stuff to do outside of the just normal, this is who I see in school. She had a couple friends in the neighborhood, but then she also had her friends in her cheer team and in baseball. So that was kind of the caveat.
That's important. Yeah, that's important. Having them in extracurricular activities and outside activities that'll give them other things to kind of make them feel included, or give them focus, have a purpose, that kind of thing. Because I think that's a lot of things that kids, that's what get a lot of kids in trouble. They have no purpose, they have no focus, they have no
they're just out there doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I think that's one of the pitfalls. Younger parents will fall into not realizing how important it is, or may not have the resources to get their kids.
And then also being involved in your kids' activity, because like I said, you're talking to my daughter started cheering. Like, everybody knows I was not a girly girl. I was cheer. I was team mom. I became assistant coach. I was every game. Softball, I was at every game. Like unless for whatever reason I couldn't be, for the most part, like majority of everything she was in, I was there. Like I was an active participant in what she was doing, and not just leaving her there to be on her own devices. And then also, as far as keeping them safe at school, protecting them, because some teachers are not great. Some teachers are like, you got to pay attention to your kid, and if it means going to have a conversation with a teacher and knowing that sometimes it's not your kid, sometimes it's just some of the people, and you got to like put them in place. Or if your child is being bullied, at one point I know she went through something at school. And she called me, and I showed up at the school, and I said, well, apparently this has been going on for a couple of weeks and you guys aren't doing anything about it. So would you like me to come and walk her home and we're gonna have a different problem? Or would you like to address it before it gets out of hand? Because she keep telling y'all and y'all keep ignoring her. So if I tell her that if somebody puts their hands on her, to like, if they try it again and to do what you need to do, then y'all call me and be mad that she done did what she needed to do. Y'all weren't protecting her.
Yeah, I mean, I want to come back to that one. When it comes to some of the things like you guys were saying, some of the like kind of the preliminary. I think hindsight's 2020, and thank God for having second chances, because growing through raising kids, the first few years of my older kids going to school, it was definitely a learning experience, trying to figure out the best way to protect them, or to like Sonny was saying, encourage them and get try to lift up their self-esteem. Because like my one of my daughters was always feeling like she was not as good as some of the other girls in the class or whatever, or felt like she had to work harder to get their approval. And it's like trying to teach her to be more assertive, or to be less doubting herself, that kind of thing. And then being able to kind of flip that and grow how my younger kids are coming in to school, just trying to do our best to kind of catch those things earlier, right? I know it's still a little different for you, but I know it's an opportunity for you to have a second chance at it with Zay. But I know that's always the hard part. It's like those first couple kids is always like you're trying to figure it out, or trying to remember everything that's important to tell your kid, or that's best to guide them through, because we don't see everything, right? We don't know everything that's happening in the school. And that was one thing I noticed with my older kids, was like trying to be both involved, but also like available, you know what I'm saying, in terms of being able to say, okay, you know what, I want to be able to be that parent that volunteers. I want to be able to be that parent that is involved in extracurricular stuff. So it was always different ways to kind of try to keep an eye out on what's going on, or trying to be supportive of what they had going on. So I always felt that was important. But going back to, go ahead, Smooth.
Oh, go ahead. If you want to go back to a point she made, I'll say what I gotta say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was actually, that's a whole nother subject. So go ahead and make your point. Then we're going to jump on this next question.
Okay, it's sort of this is a good way to segue to the next topic anyway. In conjunction with school, right? One thing I don't want I've seen a lot of kids growing up, and I almost got caught up in it too. Young, making their whole life about what's school, what's going on with school. These are my best friends. I know them for, thinking I'm gonna know them for life and all that, especially at the age my daughter at now. So one of the things I try to tell her do is, because when you mention extracurricular activities, I try to put her in some outside of school. Mm-hmm. So she'll know that there's a world outside of that. This world is at her age, because I know I can just speak for myself. At 9 years old, you got a view of a world that's not that big. You like, we don't understand how big the world is at 9 years old. These kids nowadays, they got the internet, all these TikToks, so the world probably look even smaller than them to them now.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, so to speak, but they don't have concept of how big the world is. So one thing I don't want her, because I've seen it to the detriment of a lot of kids, how stuff that affects them all the way into adulthood, because so much of their life was wrapped in to what happened in school, who said what to me, who did this to me. I try to explain her a lot of these stuff you learn in school is just life lessons, teach you how to deal with conflict resolutions and stuff as you get older. You're going to be an adult much longer than you are a child. Mm-hmm. So don't let what happened as a child in school affect you so deeply, that it corrupts your adulthood.
Indeed.
But see, I think it depends on what it is. If it's not all negative memories, like if it's positive memories and affect you into adulthood, I think that's beneficial. It's just the.
But even in that, because we could, like, a lot of times you see people don't grow up.
Right.
You understand, because they hold on to what, you still got people holding on to their high school fame.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean about that, but like, I wasn't in that direction. I was just talking about.
But even just like, you can hold those memories, but how the saying go, when I was a child, and I think I mentioned this before, I thought as a child. Mm-hmm. When I was an adult, I think as an adult, I act accordingly as an adult. So yeah, I have those fond memories that I can smile upon, even if they're all happy. But I'm not wrapping my whole life up in that moment, because, like I said, we're adults much longer than we're our children. You feel me? So
Lord willing,
you know what I mean? God willing.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
So I just don't want her to wrap her whole life into what's going on now in the fourth grade. It'd be affecting people. You'd be surprised until
no doubt. True that.
They still stuck in that era they ain't come out of.
Right.
They still there in some way.
Or they're still harboring grudges that they had back then that's not allowing them to either grow up or get past it.
That's
that kind of thing. So that happens.
Yeah.
And then traumas, right? There's a lot of traumas, all types of different traumas. We talked about a few last time. There's so many different types of traumas that will cause people to regress or to retreat from their adulthood because of things that happen in elementary school, middle school, high school. So.
Yeah, that's what's crazy because I remember my high school experiences all over the place. I was all over the place in high school. Like every emotion you could go through, I went through all of it, probably 9th and 10th grade. And like I said, I talked about it on the podcast many times before. It took for somebody that I never spoke to a day in my life, a teacher. I want to say her name is Miss Jackson. Don't quote. My sister know who she is. She was a peer teacher, and she walked up on me and she said, "What are you doing?" Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget it because I really was out there just living some reckless ass life and didn't care. And she, out of everybody that had, and I was in JROTC, a lot of people didn't to get disciplined and like nobody really saw me. And for this person who didn't know me, didn't have a conversation with me and walked up on me and was like, "What the hell are you doing with your life? Like, I just really want to know what you're doing."
Right.
And then just tell me I needed to find the outlet. Like that memory sticks with me because that kind of got me, even though I still was living recklessly after that. It was like, it stuck in me because it's like somebody actually paid attention to me.
Right.
And I think like those things are good, but like I agree with Clint. Some people are so stuck in middle school, high school vibes. And it's like, and you can't, your mind is mentally there. You're still harboring that celebrity fame or nostalgic memory that you still ain't come to. We in 2022, you still over there, and like, nah, we passed that, we over here. Right? Yeah. And that's why it's kind of that thing, like if it's a thing of like, and that's plus side of what I feel like with our kids getting to the point of going through school. Like I said, for me, my and Willie, some of his kids are adults now. I'm sure they could look back on their childhood and understand that some of the things they could have did differently and kind of grew from that. And it's some bad things while there's some good things with them as well. And just kind of getting that ideal of like, damn, this is where I was and this is where I am.
Yeah.
And seeing the growth and or the maturity, so that's, I mean, they're gonna stumble through life, but like that's,
right. What up, Pine?
Years,
appreciate you.
And how you go through them and how some people heal from them and grow up, so.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, one thing I wanted to jump back on is something you mentioned earlier, Sonny, was how do you approach the bullying, the fighting, defending themselves? How do you approach that with your kid, and not only just trying to keep them safe, but just getting them to defend themselves?
Yeah, I don't think my mom didn't teach us that. She was one of them people. She didn't want us fighting because she didn't want us acting like animals, right? And for me, my most of my middle school and high school thing was bullying. People, I was a little kid, bad stutter. Thank God for speech class. I had a lot of different things going on with me, and I think it was grade school, crazily enough, got me into fighting because somebody was picking on me, and I finally was like, you know what, let's punch them. And that's how I knew I like it. And that's what I did. And then in middle school, it got worse. Right. But that was my takeaway.
Like agrees.
But that was my, but that was my response to being bullied, right?
Right.
And my mindset was, if I knock you out, like you could bully me, but you can't beat me. Like that was my mentality, right? And then when I had my daughter, it was like I don't want her. I understood what my mom meant by not wanting us to be out there fighting, but but I think like it's weirdly enough, like she never liked us fighting, but I think she had to realize that we had to defend ourselves because you can't, like you can only go so much with avoiding conflicts, and then somebody's gonna attack you and you're not gonna know what to do, right?
Right.
So with my daughter, it was like, I remember this one time, this girl was just messing with her, and my daughter ended up fighting, right? And I came outside and I was just like, oh my God, because I had never seen her fight. My daughter was like, pieces and love, and she would get mad at people, but not like fight. This is her fighting. I think I was more shocked because I was like, oh my God. But at the same time, I was happy because I wanted her to defend herself. Like I wanted her to understand that she could. Like if somebody, because I'm a big person, if somebody put their hands on you, tell the teacher, especially at school. If the teacher don't do nothing, and you have alerted them that this person put their hands on you and they have done nothing, and they do it again, knock their ass out. That's just, I'm sorry. My mom just said, let them hit you first. I used to let people hit me first, and people didn't understand why, because I knew my mom was like, if you're going to get into a fight, let them hit you first and then do what you need to do. And that was it. Like, if you had to do it, that's what's her motto. My thing was like, look, tell the teacher, and if they don't do nothing, then do what you got to do. When they call me, I'm already know that you said something. And if you didn't, we going to have a problem. Right. But like I said, that time I had to go to the school, it was an altercation in the gym, and we had gym. So I know it's a teacher there, it's a teacher assistant there, and y'all ain't do nothing. Nobody ain't call me. My daughter had to call me. So I went off like, where was the teacher? Well, the teacher not paying attention. Like clearly it was an altercation. Like, you know, it was words said, I'm gonna follow you home, like all this nonsense. And my daughter had to call me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it'd be like that. It'd be like that. Smooth. Go ahead.
My daughter had well, first of all, like me and Hank talked about it on shout out to Hank in the comments. We talked about it on the show. That's one of the reasons why I put her in karate. So she'll learn how to, you know, have some self-defense, be able to defend herself, have some confidence and you know, discipline. But my advice to her is always, don't let nobody bully you. Don't be scared of nobody. And, you know, don't go looking for nothing.
Facts.
Go looking for nothing. But if it come looking for you, you make sure they find exactly what they're looking for.
That's facts.
You feel me? So that's what my mom, that's what my dad taught me. You feel me? Like don't go out there trying to be tough. You feel me? It's a lot of people trying to be tough to end up dead. You feel me? It's a lot of people who just tough. Just be tough. You feel me? But you ain't got to broadcast it. You ain't got to, you know what I mean, show up and show out in any arena, you know, for people. Just be secure in yourself that you know if it's time to get busy, because it's going maybe a time to get busy. You feel me? We all had to get busy on multiple occasions. You feel me? So just get busy and you know, daddy got your back. Daddy got your back. You feel me? If they say, and don't let nobody I always tell, don't let nobody put their hands on you. Don't let nobody get comfortable talking to you reckless. None of that. Don't allow none of that.
No, see, my mom was different. It was like you couldn't let them, like they could talk all they want. If they in your space and you tell them to move and they don't move, you have every right to remove them.
But what? See, it's facts. But when I say don't let anybody just talk to you reckless, that don't mean fight. That don't mean fight at all. That mean let them know it's just, you can verbally let them know a certain way you're going to talk to me. You feel me?
Demand respect, basically. Demand respect.
I'm gonna talk to you with respect. You talk to me with respect. We don't have to agree on everything. You feel me? And just because we don't have to like each other. You feel me? Yeah, that's another thing I try to explain to her. Everybody not gonna like you, and that's perfectly fine. I'm sorry, man. These phones is, I don't know what's going on right now. But,
going on.
But so that's my advice to her. Just don't, you know, defend yourself. I think all kids should be taught to defend themselves. You feel me? And not just from other kids. You feel me? It's a lot going on out here. The adult snatching kids.
I done beat some adults up in my childhood.
Yeah, I just seen something in on a quick tangent real quick, and I have posted it on my Facebook, the link. It's been like 4 kids that's been disappeared since like the beginning of the year, and we just found it out.
Oh wow!
In a city.
Just in Trenton?
In Trenton.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, I posted the link on my Facebook page.
I haven't really been on there, but I'm gonna check it out.
Because that's where I got it from. You know, I just seen it. So But
that's crazy. Yeah.
So that's that right.
Because, like you said, it's like it's something that they got to deal with.
Yeah. So I teach. You know, what I mean, don't you know, pick your battles, but no, I mean, never fear.
So yeah, so I definitely agree that, you know, having those conversations with the kids are important, but like Smooth was saying, you know, teaching or having your kids learn how to defend themselves. My kids are all in karate and martial arts classes and things like that, as well as like you said, just being conscious of not going not after people. You know, don't act like you're so tough or act like you're so big and bad, because like you said, you know, those are the people that get beat up. Those are the people that get,
all that talking and then you get
killed,
smacked
you know?
up and just trying to figure out your life.
Exactly. So you know, like you said, you do want to be prepared. You do want to be able, you know, to defend yourself as best you can. And you know, between the martial arts and like my daughter now, one of my second oldest daughter, she actually sells and makes different self-defense tools and things like that. And like my youngest daughter, like she collects them. So between the tasers and the pointy,
my daughter got mace and everything.
The little pointer sticks and the little brass knuckles and stuff like that. She collects all that stuff. So you know.
And I think I'm gonna put Zace, and I'm not necessarily boxing, but I think I might end up doing like some type of karate or kickboxing or something like that, because I think, first of all, he's always everywhere and he's this springy little person, so he can definitely like kicking stuff. So maybe karate might work out for him. I don't know, or kickboxing, but I definitely want him too, because I know with him, with just only being 9, he experienced somebody like, you know, not really bullying him, but you know, roughhousing. He's not a roughhouser. He plays by himself, and you know, when he plays with other kids, he just expect you. This your space, this is mine. And he has times where he played with other kids and they were roughhousing and tried to sign him up for it. And he's like, he got upset to the point where he was crying. Now, you know, as a boy and as a mom, you know, I want my baby crying, like, but how do I show him how to protect himself, right?
Right.
So, but like they kept like climbing over him, crawling over him, or kept knocking into him, and he would cry. And then the one time he was done with it, like he was done. They had did it for the last time. He got up, smacked the kid upside the head with the little toy truck, and he bust out crying because he was like, he had hit this kid, but he was just like, oh man, I hit him, and he started crying, and I'm like, and then they left him alone. So I was like, well, maybe they, you know, left you alone, but this is not the way. But like, I understood his frustration. He couldn't say, leave me alone, I don't want to play. So, and we were trying to move the kids away from him, and they just was not listening. And so I kind of
kids see other kids as just kids. They don't.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey guys, you know, he don't want to do that, and they did it last time, and he was like, listen, I'm done. Let me just get this done and over it. And they left him alone. They was over there yonder. He was over there back playing whatever he was playing with. So I know, I'm like, depending on like putting him in different settings, people are not going to know how to deal with him or understand him. So the possibility that he could get bullied or whatever, I want him to be able to defend himself as well too. So
how are you guys approaching peer pressure around drugs, alcohol, things like that? Because you mean all our kids are at that age already. It's in the elementary schools, it's in the middle schools.
Thankfully, my son's not aware, or at least if he is, he has no. He's just in his own little bubble right now, so he hasn't acknowledged that type of stuff. He just started acknowledging cursing, so we got to work on that.
Is he cursing already?
Well, he watched the Sausage Party, and now he's trying to say he can't say any F words, so he say bucking.
Smooth. Didn't we have a whole show on that? Really had a whole show.
I told you I'd never seen Sausage Party, and all I heard was I heard that he's watching it. And I'm like, what is going on? No, but I heard it. He was playing it, and I was like, "What are you watching?" Because it sounded like an inappropriate conversation. I'm like, "What is happening?" And then the dude was like, "What did he do to you?"
You got a kid out there watching R-rated movies and carrying on.
Yeah, so then they repeated right after him, and now he randomly say something to him, and clear as day, like, you don't want to fucking know. And I'm like, no, stop saying that. So he's now just learning curse words. So I had to so I have to get him off of that. And I'm trying to block that. I can't block. If y'all know how to block stuff on YouTube, let me know. I need to save my baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You just got to put the YouTube Kids app on this thing and take the old one off. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, real simple. But because I had to do that with and then because is he going on it on your phone?
No, he has his own little he has his own he has an iPad, so he has his own little
so don't even
YouTube.
just put the YouTube Kids on there, like you said.
Because I gotta save him, because he's starting to cuss, and I'm like, Lord Jesus, my baby.
See what I had with my daughter, I got I had the family app. So when she had to put her email in, I made sure I put her age and all that on there, and so they won't even let her. They won't even let her go to certain
apps and
pages,
content,
yeah. So
hey, Keela said her son failed his drug test positive for.
How old is he, Keela?
How old is he? What grade he in?
So here's my thing about. I mean, when we live at, we really can't. It ain't no shielding. You feel me? 16. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gonna be around his friends. They probably already drink. I was drinking in high school, so I really can't.
Yeah. I was smoking weed then, so
I was alcoholic in high school.
I was a good kid.
Most kids, they're going to run into it, right? Especially now, and we was just talking about blocking kids from certain content on the internet. You feel me? There's ways around it. So if you're not around them 24/7, they're going to see it when they look outside. They see it, smell it. They know what's going on. So my best advice is I try to be upfront with it. So stress ahead on. We was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day. A guy had, out there panhandle. You feel me? And like it turned me off soon because somebody come out, give him some money, some change, and he like taking the pennies out and setting them aside like he too good for the pennies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it was a white guy. You know what I mean? Had me bugged out. I'm like, I can't believe you doing that.
Right.
So when we come out, my daughter like, and I hear him talking. So you hear some talking. He was either drunk or he was high.
Right.
You feel me? So he was asking for money. I said, nah, I'm good. And so my daughter get in the car, my daughter like, Dad, what if he homeless? I said, look at him. He ain't handicapped. You feel me? His problem is, you can see like he high. He a drug addict. And that's what happens when you become addicted to them hard drugs and you don't have nothing else going for you. That's where you end up. You feel me? Yeah. I just try to use real life examples with her.
Right.
I don't try to scare her. Yeah, like I just tell her it is what it is. And you got some high functional drug addicts out here that you'll never know who high functioning alcoholics for that matter too.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Between lessons and religious service as well as discussions with the kids about drugs, about alcohol, about things like that. We've tried our best to kind of give our kids that head start of information. Like, okay, this is like like you were saying, Smooth. Like this is where you can end up. This is what you can end up getting involved in. But I think like to Sonny's point earlier, what becomes a challenge is them seeing their friends doing things, and then they're like, well, they're doing just fine. They're not a certain way, or they're not strung out, and they think it. They begin to think it's okay. But it's like having to kind of reiterate or kind of come back to them, like, look, I know this looks glamorous, or I know this looks a certain way, but you have to keep in mind, these ramifications, these consequences. Going back to what Keela was saying, Keela says that her son is a good kid. He doesn't give her problems. She just wants him to make better decisions, and that's the thing. It's like a lot of times, like my oldest son, he had the same issue. He was young, but he was getting into gangs and getting into drugs. Even though we had explained all this stuff to him, he went through drug programs to avoid drugs. Went through like we all did. We all went to DARE, right? Between DARE and YMCA programs and other types of programs in school to try to keep us off drugs. We all go through it, but we still see our friends or even ourselves do certain drugs, and so it's like it's the trial of trying to keep them focused on other things or keep them conscious of the negative aspect of it or the things that the consequences. That's what I'm trying to say. Keep them familiar with the consequences of it all. Keela says, by the way, I handled the situation by keeping him on punishment until he could pass the drug test. And that.
Yeah, but even that isn't. But see. The reality of it is, we in 2022. These people know how to clean a system. So, unfortunately, like to Willie's point earlier, we can say not to do this. We can tell you this is not harmful to you, especially with drugs like that. The people, jobs, tests and stuff like that. So you might not be able to get a job, stuff like that. You could explain that to them till they blue in the face. At the end of the day, unfortunately, if you can't be around them 24/7. Life kicks in and they do these things. The reality situation is, as much as we want our kids not to do a lot of things and try to stop them from doing things, unfortunately, just life happens and peer pressure happens. I think, like you said, how we handle it and how we approach it, or try a different approach of, like we said, explaining the harmful effects is one way. Talking about if they're looking for certain jobs, you won't be able to do this because of X, Y, Z, and just try to get them to see you.
But one thing I did do differently. Well, I only did it with my oldest son because he was the main one that had got kind of involved in that kind of thing. And it was a program recommended by the school as well, was putting them in a program where it was like group therapy. It was sessions on, avoiding drug use, and it was like this multi-week program that basically, it was basically punishment, but it was also a program to kind of like get him to understand, like, this is the path you're on, and the things you're doing is going to lead you to this direction. And, these are the things that you can do to avoid this. These are the things you can do to stay out of trouble, all that kind of stuff. And, also, not just punishment from a standpoint of, you can't play your Xbox or you can't go outside today, which, doesn't affect most kids anyway, but giving them legitimate punishments, things that hurt them. Like, you're not going on this vacation with the family. You're not going to be able to drive these cars. You got a license. You're not going to be getting the fresh new clothes and kicks that you thought you was getting, a friend of mine, they were like dead set on their kid was going to get this great, Christmas gifts and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, you messed up. No Christmas, that kind of thing. Get them things that legitimately will cause them.
That's really going to bother them. Yeah,
exactly. It's really going to bother them. Show them some consequences and not worry about them hating you afterwards, because that's something you hear certain parents. Like when I was in the program with my son, because I had to go to the program too. As parents, we had to be there with them. But that's another thing, being involved. Like you said, like I think Sonny was saying, sometimes you got to take that extra step and be involved. It ate into my schedule. Like his mom couldn't really do it because of her work schedule, so I did it. The whole time. But it was like some of the parents, it was the sad thing about it was watching some of the parents who did not care enough. I won't say they didn't care, but they didn't care enough to really think through what their kids were going through. And they were just allowing these things. Like this one set of parents, which was crazy to me because they were like this, the rich family in the group, and they were allowing their kid to drink, have drinking parties at the house. Kid's 16 years old. And they were like, oh, well, we all did it as kids, so it's okay. And it was like, but you see the thing, the ramifications of that. Their kid was in there for drunk driving. You know, he almost killed somebody, and it's like, you know, you gotta now take responsibility for that.
It goes back to a point we made on a previous show, parent related, about we gotta, like you just said, they said, oh, we did this, our parents did this for us. A lot of times as parents, we gotta unlearn and relearn. You know, how we were parented doesn't necessarily mean we should parent our child that way, even if we turned out fine.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
We got to treat our child. You know, you could have the foundation of what you want. You feel me? But you gotta parent according to that child's personality. You feel me? Because you could set all these rules, all these boundaries. You feel me? You could do everything. You could be real meticulous and involved in their everyday life, and they could still turn out, and rebel a certain way because
the facts.
It's going against who they are, and you trying to make them into something they're not. Right. A lot of
my parents were great, but I still did what I wanted.
That's how you get the parents that raise their kids right, and then they took kid time to be a whole damn murderer. It's like they did the best they could. At the end of the day, that kid chose to do that. They didn't have to do that, but that's what they did.
And that's 1,000% correct. And but also to Willie's point, on the flip side of that, you know, a lot of parents, and you know, they care, but Willie said it perfectly. They don't care enough. You know, a lot of parents not willing to go that extra mile.
Or just having a conversation about why they did it, why they're doing it.
But period. Like a lot of parents aren't equipped emotionally themselves,
right?
With the emotional tools, the discipline themselves.
Sometimes the
maturity themselves to go that extra mile. You feel me? And that's a huge issue in our community.
It's a sad state of affairs for sure.
I learned that with finding out my son was autistic and realizing there's a lot of people that was so focused on not having their kids labeled that they weren't getting the help and services they needed.
Right.
Because they were just ashamed and saying, oh, my child is not this. And sometimes, yes, nobody wants their child labeled, but if your child has this issue and it's a possibility you could fix it, why are you not going against the grain? And you're that it's to the detriment of the child because they're not learning. They're not learning you're not learning how to cope or handle them or deal with them or how to help them better themselves. So you just setting like you said, is you're not benefiting anything. And this is why you have these kids that be in school be problem child because they be having real life shit wrong with them or going on in them, and you're not paying attention enough to figure out what it is and help them.
Right. So my next question is, how are you approaching your child about sex and relationships?
I told my daughter, I see. I'm like a bad example because I'm one of them parents that I just talk directly to my kid. I don't really sugarcoat much. I mean, sometimes I put it in the bow.
That's a good example.
But no, because I just basically, because this is what I said to her. I just was like, listen, when she got towards the end we had a conversation about sex, right? It was real general and basic. High school was a little different. She already had the conversation. I already know, mom, blah, 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 blah. This and the third, right? So as she was approaching her senior year, I was like, listen, you're going to be potentially going away to college. Let's talk birth control because I'm not trying to be a grandma early. Like, and she was like, what? But I was just, I understand that at the end of the day, you're going to do this, whether I want you to or not, right? Like, because I just want you to be a virgin for forever and ever and ever. But at the end of the day, let's keep it a buck. That's just not about to happen. So, and especially with being a teenager, going away from me. You've been in my household this entire time, and now you're at a campus up North Jersey somewhere, and I can't readily get to you, and there's no me telling you what to do every day. You just got your own freedom, right? This newfound freedom, so you can do whatever. Right. So let's have this conversation about being proactive instead of reactive, and let's talk about birth control and like that, whatever. We had that conversation. She was like, and like she did the opposite of what my mom. She couldn't talk about it because you were assumed to be having sex, right? And so we couldn't have that conversation. But with her, she was like, "Why would you think that? I'm not trying to do anything with anybody." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that that's what you want to do, but I'm just saying if you choose to, this is added protection for me because I'm not really ready to be a grandma." So we went that route and whatever. So that was a conversation I had with her, and I felt like relationships. I think she had her own idea about, Mom, you had some crazy relationships. So I'm just not going to mirror that. It's gonna go the opposite. Like she took it as this is what you went through. I'm not about to go through that shit. So I'm
you showed her what not to do.
What not to do. Like I had some good ones in there. And she's like, "What happened to this person?"
When did you start letting her date?
It was in I said she could date in her 11th, was it 10th or 11th grade year because I didn't want her to just pop up with a prom date and I didn't know who this nigga was. I needed time to kind of get to know him, his family, and stuff like that. Thankfully, she had a couple people come through, and I was like, "Oh, these like a couple guys." She was like getting to know, and I was like, "Oh." The guy she ended up being a boyfriend girlfriend with at the end of the year, he was a cool kid. I love him. They broke up, but like I loved him. He was a cool kid. He was respectable. He was allowed to the cookouts, to the family functions, and everything. But so far, it's so good. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Smooth, you had them conversations yet?
Mute.
Oh yeah, you're on mute, bro.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, we had them. We have them. But they're not that deep yet,
Third grade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean she'll be 10. She 9. She, her birthday late in the year, so that's why I always say 4th because she's really supposed to be in
4th grade, right?
But yeah, so she'll be 10 in a few months. So the boys come up. I've even noticed a couple times, let her sit on the porch and she playing, and little boys in the neighborhood walk by and they looking at her. She, hoes, I mean, come on inside now. You feel me? Come on inside now. But it's those conversations. I'm looking forward to having those in-depth conversations. You feel me? I want her to be able to have those conversations with me. You feel me? And because I think it'd be dope. Who else to give her? I sold my oats. You know what I mean? Like
you don't live your life. So you do.
I live. So who else better to give her game than me?
Right. No doubt.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with my son. I'm scared. Like I am terrified because he's now recognized himself and he's having a ball with that. So like I'm just like I know that when he gets to that age, it's gonna be a problem.
I know one thing with boys, what boys should be taught being like they can be manipulated with sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't get talked about a lot. Like boys are definitely could be manipulated.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell him, like, listen.
And then, sexual discipline needs to be taught to our young. Like that's big. I feel like we should start teaching our boys girls too, because like I said, growing up, a lot of the girls was with it. Just they was with the shits too. But I know a lot of them was molested as well. So that triggers that triggers, that makes them
a hypersexual or whatever, aggressive towards it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And but that also happens with boys too. That's why this conversation needs to be had.
I think it's more so too if they're molested by a man. If a boy's molested by a man, he gets in that mindset of why they chose me and I don't like boys. So they either hypersexual towards females.
The most dangerous is I'm trying to tell you, most dangerous is a woman, because an older woman doing it to a younger man and everybody co-signs it. That's why it's the most dangerous, because now he thinks that behavior is okay. So now when he grow up and deal with girls his age, you feel me? He not looking at y'all like, I'm not looking at y'all like this grown woman, you feel me, is doing this to me, and I'm getting celebrated for it. So like, now I'm looking down on you. Like, I'm not, you feel me? So I haven't been taught your value. You feel me? Your value that's been taught to me is just sex. You feel me? Yeah. And it's okay.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm not taught to be respectful. I'm not taught to have any sexual discipline with y'all, because older woman is doing this to me. Not no a man. I see your point there, but trust me, when it's a woman doing it to a little boy, it's skewed, because it's like, all right, you feel me? This gotta be okay. You feel me? I can't run to nobody. You feel me? Ain't nobody going, unless you being abused like Antoine Fisher. If you take the abuse part out of it, you feel me? And there's no movie about Antoine Fisher. Don't nobody want to hear some boy was getting, you feel me, by an older woman. Don't nobody care.
Yeah.
That's why that's most dangerous.
Yeah, my mom did that. She was a nurse. She pulled out the medical dictionary, showed us what all STDs look like on genitals.
Oh yeah.
Never said don't have sex because this was gonna happen to you. So
Keela, and she's speaking on what Keela's just said about, she reminded her son of the STDs and pregnancy. She said she believes he's sexually active. She's happy he likes women. So the STDs portion of it, that's something that we talk about a lot at home, as well as the pregnancy portion of it. For both the boys and the girls, because boys can get women pregnant. That's how it works, right? I think we a lot of families spend so much time getting on their daughters like, oh, don't get pregnant, without flipping it to the boys like, look, don't get nobody pregnant. Don't have to be out here having sex with all these women unprotected and all that kind of stuff. But the STDs is kind of like our go-to, like it's the easy thing to be like, you know what, ramifications, consequences, that kind of thing. Tia said that she's open with her daughter. They identify as non-gender and she supports them 100%. And that's one thing I try to be open. I haven't really had any like super in-depth, like this is how sex works, blah, blah, blah. They learn that stuff in school. We've given them books. We've talked about it like at length, basic conversations. But from a standpoint of relationships, how relationships work, I've tried my best to be open with my kids, tried my best to be, available, have these conversations. And I think that, being able, like Smooth just said, being able to teach them game, being able to teach them how relationships work, I think that's probably more important than things that we don't really do enough of, telling them the right way to have a good relationship. It's one thing I think I would say I probably didn't do correctly was I don't think I really vocalized relationships to my kids early on. The whole showing them how a good relationship works only goes so far, because they're looking at it from a standpoint of a kid and their parents, and they're barely paying attention, right? So I think that being able to vocalize that, being able to speak to that, and really have these conversations with our kids is important. Keela said that her daughter has had the same conversations. She doesn't know. She doesn't know she went through her phone and she likes girls. But she says it's pretty much in the air for her. So having, being able to have those conversations, being able to understand where your child is sexually, being able to understand, and I mentioned that to my son the other day because he's at that age right now where he's like in that middle space, right? Where he's like, we know he likes girls, but he doesn't talk about girls, right? He worries more about playing video games, he worries more about, so having relationship conversations don't really hit because he's not interested in that right now. He's more interested in, when's the next time he's going to be playing Fortnite, and yeah, being a kid, exactly, being a kid. And so, but being that he's 15 going on 16, it's like I want to really have these conversations with him so that he's not caught off guard. I'm definitely going to have that conversation about the manipulation. I think I kind of talked about it with him a long time ago. I definitely want to bring it up again and put it back fresh in his mind, especially because he is the kind of kid, because I was the kind of kid that was like, show me a little affection. I'm giving you the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Should I do that today?
Yeah, I think my son has shown signs that he like girls. Like it'd be a random little girl. He'll walk up on her, try to touch her hair, or some grown ass lady that he just has to say hi to. It's always somebody grown. He walks to him, hi, and then he wants to hug him, and it's like, you don't know this person. Like
he's like, I want to get to know them.
You can't just go like I
got plans.
He doesn't talk, but he's walked up on a couple people and just walked up and looked them in their eye socket and was like, hi. And I'm like, and he smiled at them, and then he want to hug them. I'm like, you don't even know this person. You don't know this lady. Like, you all just. And then one lady, he kind of ripped her up, touched her butt. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm sorry. Like, I'm like, no, sir, you can't just. Like, you gotta watch your hands. Right. You can't. You over here sexually harassing people. You don't even know. You're only 9.
Right.
So I think, but like I said, we don't know. Like I'm like, and that's the sad part because I feel like with me it's bad because I really want him to like girls. Like, I really do. And it's like, but if he chooses otherwise, that's basically like, it's no love like missing from him. But like, I would like for him to have like girls, but I need him to. I feel like I'm gonna have a problem because because with him being autistic, some of them are very hypersexual.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's gonna be the problem because like right now, I guess he gets angry or whatever. He wants to show everybody what he got, and you can't do that. Sir, you can't just you have to stop him now because you can't go outside and be like, hey, little girl, like we're going to jail. We're going to jail. I don't need that in my life. So we have to work on that with him. But like I just think that it's going to be a lot of conversations that need to be had with him. Hopefully he could grasp the concept of what I'm saying. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting how.
I said we're talking about relationships. One thing we can't leave out, and I know it's going to probably sound cliche, but the main relationship I want my daughter to have, the best relationship I want her to have, is with herself. I think before, my advice, and I, she upstairs right now. I can tell she listens. So, and she hear y'all. You feel me?
Jesus.
But my advice to her is fall in love with yourself first.
Facts.
You feel me? Like, learn to love yourself truly inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ask her that all the time. And she be like, yeah, Daddy, I love myself. I do. You feel me? But I want her to learn who she is. Yeah, and what that really means. You feel me? Because when you truly love yourself, even though you want to be with somebody, you can firmly stand on your own first. You feel me? Stand on your own first, and then you'll know how to properly love. And then you'll know one thing I've learned. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll understand a relationship with somebody else. Y'all can love each other, but it just don't work out. Mm-hmm. And y'all gotta part ways. But you can't part ways with yourself.
Right.
You feel me? You can't leave you with yourself every day. And from somebody who fought depression, I know sometimes that can be real. You feel me? A real hard thing to do. To be comfortable with yourself. So my thing with her is love yourself. Build that relationship with yourself first. Learn what you like and don't like. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare your situation to other people. And then from there, you'll know what you're willing to accept in a relationship with somebody else, and what you're willing and what you're not willing to accept. What you're willing to give, and what you want given to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you truly love yourself first. So that's my main thing.
Yeah, Tia fully agrees with you. Dame also said great advice. Good evening. What up, though, Dame? I want to go back to Tia's other comment earlier. Where did this go? Yeah, she was just basically saying that she had a surface birds and bees talk with her kids when their period started, and so that was something that we did as well. With puberty, as well as puberty for the boys, period starting with the girls, was giving them kind of like that high level, like, okay, this is why this is happening to your body, this is what this means, this is what you're going to go through. My second oldest daughter gave the younger kids books that talked about puberty and menstruation and all that kind of stuff as well, to kind of supplement what we were talking about. Their mom, I know, talked to the girls about that like early on, like 7, 8 years old, especially because I think that she had started early. So being able to have the girls prepared for that, and then just basically given those high level discussions, but like you said, Smooth, being able to have these other conversations later, and some of these more important ones that we sometimes don't think about, such as loving yourself, having a good relationship with yourself, having good self-esteem, and then knowing what you want out of a relationship before you're in a relationship, so that way you're not getting the short end of the stick. Keela said that the main thing with her shorties overall, when it comes to everything from sex to drugs, is to be an individual. People going to do them, so they should think for themselves, because they have to deal with their own karma and consequences. That's a great point. A lot of times kids are out here, doing what their friends are doing or doing what the group is doing, irregardless to what the end result could be for themselves, not realizing that, your friend could be doing just fine, but you could end up strung out. Your friends could still have their job, but you could end up fired. Your friend could be, just fine living in their parents' basement, your parents kicking you out. So there's a individuality situation to that as well. And then Tia said she realized her kids are learning how to be loved and how to love from us. And that's what I was saying earlier, is that, I definitely try my best to give my kids a good example of what a good relationship looks like with their mom. But I think it's also important to kind of vocalize that, to kind of discuss it with your kids. Don't just think that because you're doing good that they're taking notes. You know what I mean? Don't automatically assume that they're paying attention, because a lot of times they may not be, because they're so focused on what their friends are telling them or what they're seeing on TV. And that's a great, that's one of the biggest peer pressure devices right now is TV, internet, social media, especially social media right now. Going back to what Tia said earlier in terms of adjusting to the environment and the times. Like Smooth said earlier, I don't think our kids are growing up in a much different time than we did. They just have a little bit different tools and resources at their hands and their fingertips. We had the same issues with kidnappings, with molestation, with drugs, with alcohol, with not a lot of opportunities, unless you go for them, bullying, all kinds of stuff, violence. They're going through the same things that we all went through as kids. Now, our parents, depending on how old our parents are, may not have gone through those kind of things. They may have had a little bit better of a situation, but for the most part, in the last 35, 40 years, it's been the same thing. Yeah,
and that's the crazy part. I thought about what Hank said. He just did the podcast about do we want our kids to kind of know us or should the kids know the real you? And I think that's a thing too, because if they kind of understand you by knowing stuff about you. I know, like growing up, my mom, as we got older, was telling us different stories about her life. So it made sense of why she was the way she was, right? Mm-hmm. And why she parented the way she parented, and why, like little ticks in how, how she was. So I think that they don't need to know everything about us, but they need to know us to an extent, that they can say that they really knew their mom or their dad and understood certain things. And even though they might not be, that's one of the things. It's funny because as a parent,
that is a gradual process too, though. So
yeah, it is.
You feel me? It's an age specific thing.
Yeah, it's probably much when they get older. Like my mom with us, we were early late teens going into 20s or that, so like that's when those real conversations came. So it, like, understanding their parenting style and understanding certain things about them, we just thought, oh, you just blah blah blah, and like then as we were older, we were able to understand it. And then even too, as a parent now, and not really seasoned but seasoned at this point, I got a 20-year-old, so it's like I understand more better now than I did back then when I was told. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think we all go through that. We went through that. We went through that as parents, in contrast to growing up as kids and our parents telling us, right? I know of a ton of stuff that my mother and father probably bestowed upon me way before I had kids, and I didn't get it until I had kids.
Until you did, and it's like looking at. That's why I said that's one of the things that I feel like, even with oddly enough, the podcast. If I go anytime, if my daughter watches this or reads my blog or whatever the case may be, she gets that understanding full circle of who her mom was, stuff that I went through, and understand why I was the way I was, not excusing any wrong I've done, but understanding
the background,
a bit of an understanding. So I think that at some point, and like maybe in their late teens into early adulthood, or as they grow up as adult, if we're still there, we can kind of share stories like, yeah, I went through this. We can kind of like talk about it, like, so they can kind of prepare themselves for their kids or whatever the case may be, and kind of get to that point of themselves. Yeah.
I want to go back to a couple of these comments, and I want to jump on that last comment Tia just made. Tia earlier said that she bought a book for her, bought a book for them, but she needs to find one that tackles non-gender kids. Keela said that her shorty is definitely, I'm sorry,
Tia, try thriftbooks.com and just search, and I'm telling you, they'll have something on there.
For sure. So Keela said her shorties definitely know the real because she doesn't sugarcoat anything. Excuse me. But yeah, this one this stood out for me because I'm in the same situation. She says that her kids and her kids are getting to know a different. She's saying her kids are getting to know a different her since her separation. Same thing that happened with me when I got divorced was being more deliberate about some of the things that I was trying to teach my kids, being more realistic about relationships and things like that. That one of the hardest things, the funny thing is, one of the hardest things I've been trying to teach my kids is about forgiveness and being able to have a partnership that doesn't have to rely on a relationship, being married or being, in a relationship like that, but just still being able to partner in parenting them. Because, of course, for them, watching your parents get a divorce and then still having to deal with both parents being there doing everything together. It's like, for them, they're like, it was unusual to them. They, what they see on TV or what they see from their friends' parents, they didn't expect us to go that route. But it was like, trying to tell them, look, we're all individuals. We all have our ways of doing things. It wasn't easy, to become a good, partner in parenting them. It took time. It took, effort. to get to that point to be able to say, okay, you know what, I forgive you for what happened in this relationship, but our focus needs to be on these kids, and then just go from there. But we got there, right? And that was another thing, having to teach them. So being very more vocal. Admittedly, that's one of the things, I have been trying to do, is being more vocal about, how those relationships should go and what they should be doing in their relationships. And then Keela also mentioned that she has a great support system of her too, which helps make her children make better decisions for themselves, and that's important as well. Go ahead, Smooth.
I wanted to go back, reference to your comment with the my kids and I are getting to know a different me since my separation. My daughter, see, and I wanted to touch on what Sonny was talking about as well, as want my daughter to know me, basically on the hype topic. When I said age specific, it's like at this point, I could remember vividly when I was her age. I can remember what I was going through in my life, the home life. I remember it vividly. So I referenced that when I talked to her a lot. That version of me. Certain versions of me, it's like it's none of her business. She'll never know. Like kids don't have to know everything. Like I don't, as you get older, you probably can share some stories. But certain things is for you and for you alone. You know what I mean? It's not. Your kids are your kids. You feel me? Like they don't need to know everything about you. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying nobody said that. I'm just saying I don't agree with that concept of your kids should know everything about you.
That was his last episode, episode 62. Should your kids know the real you?
The real you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They know I'm being real with them. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So like who I was, or certain situations that I may have done things to provide or to get by, that's none of her business. Mm-hmm. You feel me? It's none of her business. I feel like who I am now is not who I was about 3 or 4 years ago. So she already knows a different version of me than who I was 4 years ago. You feel me? And with that being said, the flip side to all of this, we were kids. Think back when your parents or your guardians, whoever, like you looked at them at one point and was like, nah, you don't know me as well as you think you do. Mm-hmm. We all had that revelation with our parents. Like, you don't know me as well. You could be around me every day, see me but you still don't know me as well as you think you do. Because sometimes we talk at our kids instead of to our kids.
Facts.
True.
And so as I'm watching my daughter grow, I want to continue to learn her as she grows. I don't want to be that parent that's still my 5-year-old baby. Like, no, you feel me? Like, she about to be a preteen soon. You feel me? You about to be 10. You know what I mean? God will at the end of this year. Like, to me, that's a big milestone.
Right.
10. You feel me? Like, you're not a baby no more. I tell her that all the time. Like, you're not a baby no more. So I'm not going to treat you. You feel me? Certain things going to change. I ain't going to be patting your back every night to go to sleep. It's stuff like that. You feel me? So we continuously are going to learn a different version of each other as we grow. But for them to know the 100% real person I am or everything I've been through, like, nah, certain stuff I'm going to just take to the grave with me. You feel me?
Right, like right. All right, before we leave up out of here, I want to ask one more question, wrap this whole thing up, about keeping our kids safe. Racism, social injustice, as Black people, as minorities, as people of color. How are you approaching racism, social injustice, things of that nature with your kids?
I think my daughter, soon to be 20, has I don't think she's experienced it because I know I experienced it several times in high school and until early adulthood. I think she has not personally experienced it or had a personal experience that we have talked about. With all the stuff that's been going on the last couple of years, we've had several conversations. The Mike Browns, Sandra Bland's, Trayvon Martin did all that. So like very, very conscious of those things. I think it's crazy because I'm like prior to all that, I wasn't scared for a girl. I was more scared for raising a black boy, but now I'm scared for both. Understanding that my daughter's driving now. She's driving while black. No matter if you're following rules or not, she can go left. That's a scary thing to think about. It's very, very scary to think about. She's very aware of social injustice. So like we had those conversations. I'm a big thing about learning different things that people went through, and she's aware of a lot of stuff. So we had multiple conversations with family. So she's very aware. I'm more, not to say I'm less scared for her, but I'm more scared for my son. Understanding that he's going to grow up as a black man. He's going to be a very tall black man. So even if he's not an adult, he may look like an adult before, like my daughter did, look like an adult before she became an adult. Mm-hmm. I worry for him, not only because of him being a black man, he's going to be an autistic black man at that. Understand that his communication skills may not be on point with an adult thing. So if something happened to him walking while black, driving, let alone driving while black, or just being black at some event, something can happen to him, but because he can't communicate, it's going to be seen like we've talked about on many of our shows. The guy who was mentally ill, and the caregiver pleading with the cops to not do anything to him because he couldn't really speak.
He couldn't communicate.
Like, that terrifies me for him.
Yeah.
And even if he can speak, it's still scary. Because all you're going to see is this big black man, and he's a weapon. Yeah. So that scares me to the utmost.
Right.
To the utmost, especially for him, more so my daughter, not because he's black, but also because he's developmentally delayed. Yes. So that's a whole nother issue for me. So like that, teaching him is going to be like, because you could teach them till you blow in the face. People don't care, like whether you follow the rules or not. So it's just a scary situation.
Yeah, go ahead, Smooth.
I mean, my daughter already experienced it. Like so teaching her is fairly, what am I to teach her? Mm-hmm. Outside of being proud of who you are, being proud of your history. My job is to teach her our history, not only as our immediate family history, but black culture as a history, and that first of all, we didn't when we talk about specifically racism, we didn't just start. I always tell her we didn't just start with slavery. Don't think of us or as yourself as a former slave. We were just enslaved for a period of time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But we weren't all our history didn't start with slavery. But as far as social injustices, I tell there's always going to be a double standard. We all have our double standards, women and men. It's double standards that go both ways. So it's going to be certain double standards that she's going to have to deal with that I'm never going to have to experience. So I really can't teach her how to deal with it, just to teach her to prepare for it. This life isn't no smooth sailing thing. She's
life ain't fair.
Life ain't fair. That's one thing, you know what I mean? Don't expect nothing to be fair. That's the last thing you better expect from life. Mm-hmm. It's fairness. You feel me? You know what I mean? That ain't even real. My dad used to tell me that all the time. That's a place where they had pigs. That's it. That's all he used to tell me. You feel me? That ain't life. So as far as other social injustices, one thing I'm gonna teach her is that she don't have to jump on every bandwagon, or everything ain't a social injustice. You feel me? Everything not gonna apply to you. Work, deal with what affects you. You feel me? If you want to advocate for other people, cool, but don't overextend yourself. Don't put yourself on the line for people that's not going to do it for you. You know, that's just how I feel. You know, I can't say she's going to feel that way. Like I said, as she grow older, she's going to make her own decisions as far as that go. Like my job, you know, as a parent, is just to prepare her. I'm one of them people, you know, I feel just, you know, I feel was 1,000% where Sonny coming from about being scared of this, that, and the third. But, you know, at some point when she become an adult, it's out of my hands. Certain things are out of my hands. She has to live. You feel me? I can't, you feel me? She's not mine. You feel me? She's not mine. She's my child, but she's not mine. So I can't hold on and protect her from everything. You got to live. Sometimes the best education is, the experience itself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's how that's my tendency of teaching.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. In terms of, like, I mean, early on, when my kids were really young. The older ones when they were a little older, but the younger ones when they were really young. First thing I showed them was the civil rights film. What was the one? Oh God, I almost called the name of it. Basically, it's the one that kind of walks you through like the Reconstruction, civil rights movement, all that kind of stuff. The lynchings, you know, talks about the movement, talks about the things that happen after that. So I think it even goes up through the early 80s drug trade and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of immersing them in the history and getting them understanding, like, you know, this world is pretty much already against us for whatever reasons, right? Well, we know the reasons, but you know what I mean. For whatever number of reasons they want to be against us, the world's already in this space. This is where we're coming from in terms of what we're dealing with here in this country. Like you said, Smooth, teaching them history, going back and saying, okay, you know, it didn't begin with slavery, it began with this, you know, going back, you know, not only biblical, but, you know, going back to the royal times, going back to the, you know, the villages and the people that was, you know, able to have what they want, you know, do what they want to do. They were, you know, they were free people. Going back to the fact that, you know, it's more to this world, or more to this society than just people against you, because you can come up out of this. You can do, you know, better, you know. You can fight through it. You can push through it. You can do certain things to avoid certain things. You're going to face it. You know, there's no avoiding it. You know what I'm saying? And so, of course, my kids have gone through it, being that they've gone to schools that were mixed, predominantly Black, but still mixed, had a good mix, living in communities that were mixed, as well as just dealing with, you know, those things when we're traveling, that kind of thing. Understanding, you know, we haven't really talked about sundown towns, but, you know, knowing that there's certain places you just don't go at night, you know, that kind of thing, or, you know, some areas you don't travel through, you know. So it's one of those things where, like you said, it's unavoidable. It's something that we definitely have to be actively teaching our kids. And I always felt like it was something that they needed to know early on. I think that, like you both said, you know, dealing with kids that are now becoming adults, or, you know, I've got kids that have been adults, but, you know, when they started driving, when they started getting out here and being adults on their own, having those, you know, legitimate fears for them. But, you know, I can't remember which one you said it, but basically preparing them, saying, you know what, these are the things you're going to face. These are the things you're going to have to deal with. You know, if you get pulled over, you're going to have to deal with this. If you interact with other people, you're going to deal with that, you know. So just trying to be sure that they're conscious of these things and then prepared, on how to deal with it, and then praying for the best to outcomes to come out of it. And like you said, so having the experience, because that's one of my things too, is that I'm big on experience. If I can help you avoid something, I'm going to tell you, but it's still up to you to decide how you're going to approach it, how you're going to avoid it. And I can't stop you, or I can't protect you 24/7. You have to, be ready or make these decisions so that you can avoid the pitfall. But I think, from an experience standpoint, being able to let them bump their heads, go through things, that's what's going to teach them. That's what's going to grow them. So that's
quick experience for me, personal experience. So like I said, my 9th grade year, I know Tia. I knew Tia way before I ever knew Sonny. Me and her went to elementary school. Yeah, me and her went to elementary school with Joe Wilson together. Then I went to junior 2. My 9th grade year, though, I went to the school called Pennsbury. So at the time, and then the school was split from 9th and 10th grade, 11th and 12th grade was in different buildings. And, they called the 9th and 10th grade in the building there. It was still Pennsbury High. I played basketball on the freshman team, everything. But there were not many blacks at that school at all. So this is a culture shock for me, a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old who turned 14 that November. So I started at school out as a 13-year-old. Culture shock. I'm coming from predominantly, black and Hispanic, Latino. So I'm in there, and bro, this is the worst experience in my life. So I don't relate to these people. You feel me? I'm coming in. This is when I first started going my braids back in the day. So I come in there. I'm wearing Wu. I'm Wu Tang out. You feel me? Boot camp play. I'm diehard rap. You feel me? So I'm coming here and I'm around these people, and I'm like, I don't relate. I hear the whispers. These like the white movies, high school movies, like that shit is really, they really how they click up. How you got your golf, you got your you jocks, you got your cheerleaders. Like that shit is real. That shit is real. So, boom, I get into it. Long story short, white boy called me a nigger. First time I got called a nigger, dude who was supposed to be cool with me, we was joking, and when he walking back to the locker room in gym, he and I'm running the other way, I hear him over his shoulder, nigger.
Wow.
I'm like, that. Mind you, we was just joking, playing, laughing, and all. And I'm like, wow. So I follow him in the locker room, locking the sock. You feel me? Walk up on him. Like, bro, you just call me nigga? Like, what's Clint, blah, blah. So another time, boy called me nigga. We get into a fight. I'm suspended 10 days. And I'm telling my mom that, like, yo, I hate this school. Now, mind you, the school itself, the education standard they had were better than Trenton High. Far better, because they just held their kids to a higher standard. That's all it was. You feel me? They just held their kids to a higher standard. But I'm telling my mom and my dad, like, yo, y'all can't send me, I can't do no more years there. I can't do 4 years there. They couldn't comprehend. Right. You feel me? At the time, they understood, I'm the only black boy, blah, blah, and it ain't that many of us in there, but they never experienced it. You feel me? And I'm talking about, I could feel it walking through the hallways, walking by certain people, they looking a certain way. Like, yeah, you got quite a few that was cool. You feel me? They ain't look at me no way. But for the most part, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't racist, you could feel the prejudice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So My point is sometimes this is why I said my daughter got to experience certain things. My parents couldn't help me in that situation. There was nothing they can say, nothing they could do outside of take me out of that school. You feel me? And I ended up transferring my 10th grade year back to Trenton High. You feel me? But sometimes you can teach, you can talk to you blue in the face, you know, but experience and being able to, and I think you just said it, how you react to certain situations.
Yeah.
You feel me? You can't overreact to every slight. You feel me? Like, especially Sunday, as a woman, you fighting a double battle.
Yeah.
You're fighting a double, you black, first of all.
Yeah.
So they're looking at you like you ghetto.
Right.
And that's the crazy part. I just, within work, I'm the aggressive black girl. Even when we're having a debate, I'm considered aggressive because you personalizing it. It has nothing to do with us personally. It's just a debate of why we should do certain things this way. You're saying why you want it this way, and I'm telling you why we shouldn't have it this way. But I'm seen as the aggressor, or I'm being aggressive, or argumentative, or hostile, and I need to learn how to my tone, those things, and I experienced that with work. My tone is an issue, and it's like, well, if so and so disagrees with you, it's fine, but for whatever reason, when I do it, that's the first thing, you're aggressive. I've experienced that on the jobs. I had a lady at one job, white lady at my job, called me the N-word too. And
at the job,
I think, I was working at Macy's. I was working at Macy's, and I'll never forget it because it wasn't my normal area. It's a different area in Macy's, and the manager at the time I had never met her, and I was over there. You know what you're supposed to do when you in this area. You're supposed to be, straightening up, stuff like that. And she ended up trying to figure out who I was and why I was behind the register. All this nonsense. Had a name tag on, but whatever. Dressed in Macy's outfit. You're supposed to wear all black, like dress pants and the jacket if you're wearing a colored shirt, whatever. Had the uniform on, name. But apparently, I had to be this unidentified black person in here touching stuff. So she was following me around and she said it to me. And when I turned around, she realized, oh, she works here. And then tried to backtrack. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. So I basically, I covered the shift for somebody that called out for you. But since we're doing all that, let me go to the security office. I'm out of here. You figure it out by yourself. And I told them, never, if I ever run to work hours, I'm never going to do it in that department anymore because she's an entire asshole. But, and I've been followed in stores, stuff like that, whatever.
I've definitely dealt with that.
Yeah. my thing is to address it. The one time I did not address it was at work. Somebody recently at job, somebody, my supervisor suggested I take professionalism and respect and whatever courtesy class. And then she tried to say, "Oh, I'm glad you think you should. I'm glad you agree." But you went and asked everybody else which class they want to take, but you suggested I take this class. And somebody was like, well, why didn't you? And I said, I started to check her, but I had to catch myself because she's already spinning the narrative that I'm aggressive and things. So had I done it,
she wants you to fall right into that stereotype.
I would have fell right into it. And I said, that's the problem of people address it. No, because that's what she wanted to justify it, because clearly you don't like me and that's fine. Your problem is I actually do my job. I show up and I'm not a problem. So you can't assassinate my work. You're going to try to assassinate my character. So I already know what you're on. You've said numerous things to hint at who you are with your little microaggressions. I got you loud and clear. I know what type of time you're on, and I know how to. And I told my coworker, I said, that's why you got to identify people as such and who they are, and deal with them accordingly.
Yeah, indeed.
Because sometimes reaction doesn't benefit you.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. All right. Well, this has been a great show. We hit all the topics. We ended this parenting series with a bang. Definitely did a great job going through everything from talking about, the things we learned from our parents and thought that, thought we could do better or thought we could do differently. We also talked about our village, how our community involvement with our children, how we can be the village for other kids in our communities. We talked about blended families. We talked about keeping our kids safe. Hype and Smooth talked about the ways that their daughters affected them. Hype also had a recent show actually yesterday, and you'll see it here on GFT Radio tomorrow, talking about do your kids need to know the real you, or should your kids know the real you? And then, as you can see here, we have another discussion about keeping our kids safe, touching on schools and racism, social injustice, things of that nature. So make sure you guys go back and watch all those shows, watch all those replays, and hopefully you all learned some new things or got some insight or just know that if somebody can relate. Want to finish up these last couple of comments. Tia was talking about her finding out when Sunny was talking about having a boy, having a girl, and dealing with those fears. Tia was saying she was stressed when she found out she was having a boy. She also had to explain to her daughter that she couldn't act or do things like some of her friends. Her daughter even was asked if she was mixed because of her quote unquote good hair. And then she said that she worked in a Princeton school for years, and they thought that she said I was the go-to girl for all urban questions. When I left the job, all of them had a different view of Black people because of how I carried myself. And sometimes you got to be that example, right? But it's all about approach. It's all about how you approach the things, the situation, how you handle those situations, and go from there. So great topics, great answers. Appreciate everybody for their comments. Make sure you come back here. We always got great content every Monday, 10 p.m. It's a GFT radio show. The How to Hustle podcast with Hype every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Styles and Chevy recap. We will be here on Wednesday talking about Moon Knight episode 4. So make sure you guys come back for that. Sex with Sunny live 2 Fridays of the month. Sunny will be back next month with some great topics for you guys to listen to and for us to discuss, and you can discuss it with us. So make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and comment on these topics with us. The fans' perspective normally is every other Sunday. I get that you guys been doing every Sunday, catching up on all the playoff excitement. So definitely come here on Sundays. They just had a great conversation on Sunday about the playoffs. Things are getting heated up over there. So make sure you guys check out the fans' perspective and get the fans' perspective of what's going on in sports today. And Gaming with Styles is back. I recently played some No Man's Sky. I also had some time to play some other game that I can't remember. Brawlhalla. So make sure you go check out those replays. I'll be playing some more No Man's Sky very soon, as well as getting back to Brawlhalla as well for all my Twitch addicts out there. So make sure you guys come back and check out Gaming with Styles. And guys, you want to tell them where they can find you? Start with Sunny.
Hey guys, it's your girl Sunny D. You can find me at IamSunny_D, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and TikTok. I just posted a video the other day or last night, so check that out. Or you can catch me on my blog, unreservedlyme.com.
What's going on, good people? It's your boy Smooth. You can catch me all the damn time on Twitter at eTrentonGroomy, or visit me on my blog at akingstruth.com, or on Snap at a King's Truth. And that's about it. Holla at your boy.
Make sure you guys get with Dame over at Another Level Up on IG, Agent D-Lo on Twitter, Shinlo21 on Twitch, Checkmate21 on TikTok, and Agent Shinlo on Xbox. He was in the comments tonight. Hopefully we'll have him back on the regular show, but he's been over at the Fans Perspective, so make sure you guys go check him out over at the Fans Perspective. Make sure you interact with Hype at I Am Hype on IG and Twitter. How to Hustle podcast with Hype. Has a premiere every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on YouTube. Also check out the Custom Hustle World and the H2H Cleaners pages for his other businesses as well. It's your boy Willie Styles in the building. Get at me everywhere at Willie Styles on IG, Willie.Styles on IG and Twitter, Willie.Styles on Snapchat and TikTok. You can find me over on gamingwithstyles.com playing some hot games and having some fun blowing things up. Make sure you visit me over at stylesradio.com for all the hot tracks that I'm listening to, or check me out at williestyles.info for all my links. All right. Another great show. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you get at us, like, subscribe, share. You know how to do it. So we'll see y'all on the next one. Holla.